Humanity loves to brag about its high-octane brain power, right? I mean, we're an incredibly advanced species, or so we like to think. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to challenge that assumption just a little bit. We usually celebrate our technological milestones, but today we're looking at those historical moments where our collective intelligence just, poof, vanished into thin air. So let's dive right in and look at 3 times humanity completely lost its mind over absolute nonsense.
We have designed absolute triumphs like the Nintendo 64's reality display processor, right? Running 4 different cycle modes to generate pixels at just blistering speeds. And we've got the PlayStation's geometry transformation engine accelerating vector math so we can render these beautiful 3D dragons in 32-bit glory. But historically speaking, when we aren't busy building gaming powerhouses, our collective common sense is about as stable as a moth in a microwave. Seriously, we've managed to turn everything from sports to sugary sodas into a high-stakes delete button for civil order.
All right, number 1 on our list, the ultimate team spirit massacre, Constantinople, 532 AD.
So, transport yourself back to 532 AD in the Byzantine capital of Constantinople. Back then, pretty much the absolute height of entertainment, really the only thing to do in your boring daily life, was to waddle down to this massive arena called the Hippodrome to watch chariot racing. But this wasn't just a sport, okay? It was a fierce 2-party political and class dispute. On one side, you had the blues. They represented the uppity rich folk. And on the other, the greens, the lower-class laborers and craftsmen. You didn't just casually root for a team here. Your colors represented your entire socioeconomic identity. It was this intense rivalry just waiting for a spark.
And wow, did they get one. Things absolutely hit the fan when a smaller riot resulted in 2 men, one blue and one green, being sentenced to death. But then, in a massive historical bro moment, the executioner's scaffolding just collapses. A total freak accident, so the men were simply thrown in prison instead. Well, as you can imagine, the sports fans were absolutely livid. They wanted mercy for these 2 guys who had miraculously survived.
So, Emperor Justinian I decides to try and calm the angry fans down by distracting them with a, quote, more fantastical chariot race. Yeah, because telling an angry mob to calm down always works perfectly, right? Instead of being distracted, these rival teams, who were normally at each other's throats, united under a common enemy. They started chanting Nika, which means victory. Normally, this was just a chant for the winning chariot, but now it became a unified, terrifying war cry directed right at the palace.
Things went off the rails so incredibly fast. By day 3, these united factions had burned down nearly half the city. They wanted the emperor's head. To end the madness, Justinian literally lured 30,000 unarmed citizens into the Hippodrome under the guise of negotiation, locked the gates, and had his soldiers indiscriminately slaughter them all. Talk about a completely shitty day at the track, right? All of this escalating from a sports grievance.
Moving on to number 2, the $32 billion bottle cap war, the Philippines, 1992.
Let's jump forward to a modern corporate disaster. Imagine a corporate giveaway so incredibly botched that it starts a literal war. In 1992, Pepsi launched the Number Fever contest in the Philippines. The premise was super simple. Find a number under your bottle cap, watch TV to see if it's called, and win 1 million pesos. That was roughly 50 times the average annual salary. Sales naturally ballooned by 40%. But then, the manufacturing department had a terminal lapse in judgment. The grand prize winning number was 349. They were supposed to print that number on exactly 2 bottle caps. Instead, they printed it on 800,000 bottles. Just imagine the sheer, unadulterated panic at Pepsi headquarters. The expected payout was for 2 winners, so about $80,000. The actual payout staring them in the face? 800,000 winners holding caps worth a combined $32 billion. That was nearly triple what the entire Pepsi Corporation was worth globally. Suddenly, hundreds of thousands of people thought they were rich, and Pepsi literally did not have the money to pay them.
When Pepsi tried to retract the number and offer a tiny fraction of the prize money, the public didn't just write a mean comment online. They formed the 349 Alliance, completely boycotted the soda, and things got incredibly violent. People started blowing up Pepsi delivery trucks with live grenades. Tragically, one of these grenade attacks actually took the lives of an innocent school teacher and a 5-year-old girl.
To sum up this utter disaster, the contest ended up fizzing out and falling flat. But not before the 349er mob Exodia obliterated Pepsi's reputation in the region. What started as a fun, innocent way to sell some sugar water turned into a completely unhinged war over bottle caps.
And finally, number 3, the fatal eel tug-of-war, Amsterdam 1886. Okay, let's move to our final historical absurdity. We've seen riots over sports, riots over soda, but what about a full-scale deadly riot over a slippery fish? In the neighborhood of Jordan, there was this curious and honestly pretty cruel Dutch pastime called Pauline trekken. The mechanics of this game were utterly bizarre. Step 1, drape a long rope across a canal. Step 2, attach a lubed-up live eel to that dangling rope. Step 3, stand in a moving boat and try to yank the dangling devil off the rope while all your friends cheer. Miss, and you're falling in the water. Unsurprisingly, the Dutch government deemed this unnecessary cruelty and outright banned it. But you know how people are. The locals simply ignored the ban and kept yanking their eels in public anyway. Well, one summer afternoon, a police officer caught a group in the act. To enforce the ban, he drew his knife and cut the rope. And man, the neighborhood of Jordan went goo-goo gaga bunkers. They viewed this as some terrible act of oppression. The officer was literally dragged into a cellar and had the ever-loving shit beat out of him.
It gets worse. The next morning, a bloodthirsty mob regroups. They storm the local police station, pelting the officers with literal garbage and rocks. The situation spiraled so far out of control that the military had to be called in. And their bright idea to, quote, calm the rioters down, opening fire into the crowds with live ammunition.
Which brings us to this staggering number, 26. By the time the smoke settled, 26 people lay dead, and another 130 were severely injured. All of that bloodshed, all of that destruction, over a slippery fish tied to a rope? It's just a wild reminder of how rapidly we can lose all sense of proportion.
So let's bring this all back to today. We stress out over these complex, high-tech problems, right? AI safety, or the fact that our N64 has excessive pipeline stalls? But look at our historical track record. Hey, at least you aren't being Spartan-kicked onto a baseball field during an ill-fated 10-cent beer night, or dying in a medieval poopy plunge, or taking a bullet because someone cut your eel rope.
It really leaves us with one final thought. Are our modern anxieties really any better than the bizarre ways our ancestors met their demise? Our tech has evolved for sure, but our core tendency to completely lose our minds over absolute nonsense seems to be a permanent feature in our software. Anyway, subscribe if you want to keep your bottle caps price-free and your fire extinguishers clown-proof. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.